Hey there, Psycho, heard the news. There's a new podcast made just for you. So if you like psych and pineapples too, then I know you know what to do. Come on down to Santa Barbara town and get ready for Psyched.
Hello, and welcome to Psyched, a podcast where we discuss all things psych, the hit USA TV show. From hidden pineapples to crazy nicknames, come on, son, and join the fun. If you are a fan of delicious flavor and have heard it both ways, this is for you. I'm Keaton, your host, also known as Sean Gus Psych on Instagram, link in the description. I started watching a few seasons in, live on TV, and since then I have seen every episode at least twice. So today we're talking about Forget Me Not. Now this is a great episode. It's season 1, episode 9. Here is the plot. This is from psychusa.fandom.com. In 1986, Sean is on a field trip visiting the zoo with his class. He is seen taunting classmate Trish Connors while bouncing a tennis ball. Moments later, he comes up to his teacher and explains that an ostrich may be choking. Henry brings Sean back to the bus, mad at him for throwing the tennis ball. But Henry's captain and Trish's father then says that he believes him and that he did not throw it. Sean says it might have been aimed at him as he looks on at Trish. Flashing forward to present day, Henry's old boss, Captain Brett Connors, and his daughter Trish come to the psych agency for help. Connors, who is suffering from early onset Alzheimer's, thinks he saw the murder, but he can't remember who's been killed or who the killer is. The police don't believe him, so he asks Sean to psychically look into his head for the answers. Since Connors was always great to him as a kid, Sean agrees to take the case. Sean and Gus begin by retracing Connors' steps. They start at the coffee house where Connors was when he thinks he solved the crime. To Sean's dismay, happens to be not only a regular haunt of Connors, but also of Henry's and all his old cop buddies, who just happen to be there now. Meanwhile, at the police station, a woman, Sabrina Vito, comes to Juliet for help. Her boyfriend, Mike McMillan, has gone missing. She's been unable to reach him and is putting up flyers all over town. Back at the coffee house, Sean and Gus sit with Henry and Connors as they reminisce about the old days. Sean notices a note Connors wrote to himself describing a white male, 20s, bald. He looks up and sees one of Sabrina's missing posters. Connors' description matches the picture of Mike perfectly. Sean tells Connors he's getting a vibe that Connors was sitting at the same table when he saw the victim, Mike. This jogs Connors' memory, who tells them he saw Mike arguing with Mort Crocker, founder of Mort's family restaurant chain, who blamed the murder on a mountain lion. Sean and Gus look confused, but Henry reminds Connors about an old case of a woman named Zoe Sharp, who was killed by a mountain lion, but Connors always thought it was murder. It seems that Connors is mixing past with present. At the psych office, Gus shows Sean a newspaper article about the death of Mike McMillan, who was killed by a mountain lion. This must have been the murder Connors thinks he solved. 2 mountain lion deaths in the same case can't be a coincidence, so Sean stops by Henry's to get more information. Henry tells him that Zoe Sharp was Crocker's assistant and that there was a rumor that they were having an affair. There wasn't any proof, and Connors was always upset that they couldn't nail Crocker for her death. Sean and Gus go to the zoo to talk to Mike's killer, the mountain lion. By impersonating visiting doctors, they learn from the zoo director that the mountain lion who attacked Mike only did so because it was malnourished. Which is strange because there was a record rainfall this year, so the lions had an abundance of foliage to feed on. Sean and Gus go to the woods to check out where Mike's body was found. By looking at the paw prints and drag marks, they deduce Mike was murdered elsewhere, and the mountain lion only fed on him after he was dead. The mountain lion, they conclude, was framed. Just then, they turn around to find a park ranger aiming a gun at them as they are trespassing. The ranger is John DeSoto, and Sean is able to convince DeSoto that he and Gus were lost hikers suffering from hypothermia. DeSoto brings him back to his ranger station. There, Sean sees a picture of DeSoto with Mort Crocker and his wife Edna at a wildlife fundraiser. They also see a cage outside with blood on it, which makes Sean remember that the mountain lion had a matching cut on it. They ask DeSoto how often mountain lions attack humans, and he tells them not often, but this has been a dry year, and the mountain lion that killed Mike must have been hungry, the exact opposite of what the zoo director said. Sean and Gus go to the police station to tell them about the link between DeSoto, Crocker, and the mountain lion. There they see Sabrina, who tells them that Mike was in town looking for his birth parents. His birth mother had been dead for almost 20 years, but he had finally tracked down his father, who was a wealthy man and difficult to get to. Sabrina is holding a box of Mike's things, in which Sean notices the shoes with soil in the treads and a prescription for biotin. Gus tells Sean that biotin deficiency can be hereditary, so they go to Crocker's house to confirm what they suspect. Mort Crocker was Mike's father. If they find biotin there, they can prove they're right. At the Crocker estate, they run into a roadblock by the name of Edna Crocker, so instead, they track down Crocker's pharmacy, and there they confirm that Crocker did in fact have a prescription for biotin. They call Lassiter and Juliet and let them know that Zoe Sharp was Mike's mother, and that when Crocker found out, he probably wasn't happy about having to share his fortune. Connors says Crocker killed Zoe and dumped the body, but it was a dry year that year and he got lucky. The lions were hungry and ate the evidence. Sean and Gus say that this time he didn't need luck. He had help in form of Ranger DeSoto. Lassiter tells them that Crocker was in Chicago when Mike was killed. Connors, frustrated and out of control, doesn't believe him and goes after Crocker himself. Sean, Gus, Lassiter, and Juliet follow Connors and Trish to the Crocker estate. They chase Connors as he runs into Edna's private greenhouse. Sean notices the potting soil there, same soil that was on Mike's shoes. He realizes that it wasn't Crocker who killed Mike. It was Edna. Mike came to see Crocker and met Edna instead. It was she who didn't want to share their fortune, not with Mike, nor with his mother 20 years ago. Connors remembers that Edna's maiden name was DeSoto. The park ranger is not only Edna's accomplice, but also her brother. Edna tries to deny it, but Sean has a vision of a security camera hidden in a bird feeder and says that if Mike was there, the footage of his arrival would show up on the tape. Edna realizes that she's been caught and angrily rants that you would have given him half of everything, just like his mother. Connors orders Lassiter to arrest Edna and to have a warrant put out for Ranger DeSoto. Thanks to Connors and Sean, the murders of Zoe Sharp and Mike McMillan have been solved, giving Connors a closure and one last moment of glory. Back at the coffee house, Connors beams with pride at the commendation award he has received and tells Henry his days of chasing cold cases are over. Sean, Gus, and Trish are sitting at a separate table. When Sean starts questioning Trish about the tennis ball ostrich incident from the past, she angrily gets up and leaves, and Sean starts prodding Gus to get up and ask her out. And that is what happened. Okay, so this episode I'm trying it without the guitar, and if you liked the guitar, please comment below. If you didn't, comment below, and I'll continue with that, or I'll bring back the guitar in between segments. So here's what I liked and what I disliked. So I love when Captain Connors believes Sean in the flashback, and then Sean believes him about the crime present day. That's just a nice relationship. Weird relationship, but it's really nice that they just believe each other, and they're really cute. And then Gus's quote, plus he has abs like Bruce Lee. When he's talking about himself, he's in the scene where they see Trish and Captain Connors outside the psych office, and they're pretending to read their lips, and Gus thinks that Trish is saying that stuff about him. He's just making it up. It's really funny. Okay, and then when Sean and Gus go to the coffee house or the restaurant, and Sean sees like a newspaper with Henry's handwriting, and he goes, little eyes, we gotta get out of here. I like that. And also, I like how the murders connect. And then for this, I don't get the scene where Sean pretends to be studious, like in front of Trish, but it was really funny. I don't get why that needed to be added, but it was really funny. And also, I feel like Sean and Gus could have talked to the zookeeper or a vet or something instead of breaking in and having to pretend to be doctors. But that was still really funny. And then my favorite quote of all time in this episode. When Sean steps over the chain, trespasses, dude, we totally made it. We're in. It's my favorite quote. My favorite scene. And then, of course, when Connors thinks he still works at the police station, sits at Lassie's desk, and then gets up and everyone confronts him. And Sean comes in, and he's like, Henry, tell him who I am. It's like, do you really think I look like Henry? Like, do I look like my dad? It's not good. Am I balding? Like, it's just so funny. And of course, here we go. Ranger de Soup. De Soto. Like, when he gets that wrong, I've heard it both ways. You know, something like that. And then, of course, the whole chase scene. It was gold. Like, that was awesome. I don't know why. I just loved that. And then my two dislikes. When Trish comes running in, when Connors thinks he's still a cop and sits at Lassie's desk, so Trish loses him and runs in and sees Sean and Gus. So she's like, Sean, Gus, my father, he disappeared. It was weird how she acted it out. Like, she was kind of smiling, kind of in panic. Like, okay. And then, when they find Connors in the greenhouse towards the end, why did Trish sneeze? Or they follow him in. They follow him into the greenhouse. Trish sneezes. I don't know why she did. It's so random, but it's good. It's good. I like that. It was a really good episode. There were a lot more likes than dislikes for sure. There's a lot more I could say too, but we're just going to leave it at that. So ready? The next segment. I've heard it both ways. This is a segment where we talk about plot holes in the episode. So, I could not find any at all. Like, at all. So, there's that. So, the next segment, you ready for this? I know you know segment. This is where we talk about the actors in this show that guest starred in this episode. And there were two great ones. So Ashley Williams, who played Trish Connors, she is in so much. So in Monk, TV show Monk, she's in an episode where she gets married to Sharona's brother. She's going to get married to Sharona's brother or something. And then stuff happens. So she guest stars in one episode there. She's also in How You Met Your Mother. She dates Ted for a long time, and stuff happens. You know, it's Ted. So she's really good in that, too. And then, of course, at least I think, Kurtwood Smith, who plays Captain Connors, pretty sure he's in That 70s Show, which I've only seen a few episodes, but it's a really good show. So there's that. And then I didn't find anything else about anyone else that I recognized. I didn't really recognize much. So there's that. Those are all the actors. And then the next segment is, ready for this? Wait for it. Are you a fan of delicious flavor? Every week on Instagram, I ask people, or however long, whenever I record the podcast, I ask people to tell me where the pineapple is in the specific episode. The fastest person to reply and be correct gets a shout out here. This week, dun dun dun, was Lindsay Chambers 43. It's her username. She does the theme song and the intro for this podcast, which is pretty cool. She also, I think, does some artwork for the Junk Monk podcast, which, exciting things. So Junk Monk podcast is run by fans of the show Monk, which Ashley Williams guest starred in. There you go. But, do you know Randy Disher from Monk? Like, the character Randy Disher. So, he's played by Jason Gray Stanford. He's like a main character in that show. He's making his own Monk podcast. It's called the Randy Disher Podcast. And I'm so excited for it. It's coming out next Friday, Friday the 19th. Whenever I post this podcast, it might be before or it might be after the podcast comes out. But I'm super excited for this first episode. You got to go check it out. If you're a fan of Monk, which Psych and Monk you should be, they're both the best. So, there you go. So, anyway, the pineapple in this episode. So, Lindsay Chambers said, Sean and Gus mentioned pineapple scones at the coffee shop. So, when they first arrived at the coffee shop, they're talking about pineapple scones, and then they see the little eyes, and they try to run away from Henry, and then Henry stops them, and I don't know if they get their scones, but they talk about them. So, there you go. Okay, so here's a little random thing. It's not really a segment. It's just a thing I noticed, like a little hidden in thing in the episode. So, you know how Mike's posters all over his, like, billboards and things, you know, where you put up ads and stuff. So, on those, like, billboards, Sean has actually put up his own. So, there's a few. So, one says, Wanted, Collector Comic, The Green Spirit Strikes Again, Looking for First Printing, Must Be in Near Mint Condition, Money No Object, Call Sean at 555-0127. So, that's a throwback to Sean and the Red Phantom, I think it's called, when they go to Comic-Con, the con, and Gus buys this first printing of this, you know, Green Spirit comic book, and then Sean rips it up. So Gus is like, you owe me a new one. Well, he never found one, so he's looking. He's still looking. And here's another one. Vintage gold pocket watch. Inscription that reads, Don't lose, Henry. Watch has sentimental value, reward, free psychic reading, call 555-0127. So this is a throwback to Weekend Warriors when Henry gives Sean a gold pocket watch and he pretends to lose it, and I guess he actually lost it and put out an ad for it, which is kind of funny. So those are the two I noticed. There might be more, I'm not sure. Those are pretty funny. And next segment, dun dun dun, pop references. So there's only a few. So here we go. Sean, Simba, I am your father. Gus, I don't think Mufasa said that. Sean, Mufasa, Vader. I'm not Rappaport. It's all James Earl Jones. Gus, I'm not Rappaport, was Ozzie Davis. Sean, it still works. So I only get two of those references. You know, Lion King and Star Wars. Which, shout out to, first of all, Elton John. Just because he makes Lion King everything. He's everything about Lion King. And then shout out to The Mandalorian. If you haven't watched Disney Plus, The Mandalorian. It is so good. Like, really good. You should definitely get Disney Plus and watch it. Because it is amazing. Okay. So I think, did I do pop references? Behind the scenes? There's no behind the scenes, really. I think that is all. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you ever want to guest star, please message me, Instagram, comment, YouTube, anything. And we'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you remember it like Brett. Captain Connors. Hope you remember this episode. Hope you remember this case. Maybe he's sitting there today thinking, what happened? Something happened. I don't remember. Poor guy. We love him. Yeah, Bert Connors. Okay, bye. Have fun.